It's gonna be Iago again, isn't it? She slammed the brakes. The car let out a surprised squeal and a spray of water, and all the thieves lurched forward. Ryuji nearly concussed himself on the back of Akechi's seat. He grimaced and leaned back over, adjusting his mask. "What do we stop for? You see a pothole or..." He trailed off and hissed air through his teeth. "Oh, crap." He stood in the street before them, his manacles winking in the murk. The soiled white of his mask and the rotted white of Iago's mask, and that violent, toxic yellow cravat gleamed like the Dead Sea was just some ashen substrate laid over the world, and here it had flecked away to reveal the festering pollution underneath. I hope you don't mind me saying this, in regards to our current situation. Fuck! Right as we were about to leave, too. Akechi clenched the armrests of his seat so tight his claws tore into the upholstery. A thin whimper escaped from his throat. "Man, this guy's got you scared shitless," Ryuji remarked. "I was expecting someone taller." "It's the persona we have to worry about," Akira said as Ryuji settled back down. "And he's already summoned it. This isn't good." Futaba had already brought her console up, frantically scanning the grid. "How did I miss him? I literally looked away for 10 minutes and he's right on top of us." "Wait." Data sleeted past her eyes. "Even at this range, his readings are fuzzy. Is he jamming me somehow?" "Could be," said Akira. "My personas got freaked out by him too." "This guy's just full of tricks," An said grimly. "Yeah, well, it's 9-on-1, Ryuji said, and reached for the door. "So let's get out there and..." Akira grabbed his arm. "Don't." "Huh? Why?" "The persona. Look." Iago convulsed and spasmed, the chain spraying out from his drowned and pustulant body link by link. They trailed into the water below. "It's a trap!" "That persona is incredibly strong, but its chief skill is territory control," Akechi said. His voice sounded far away, like he was sleep-talking. "Within seconds, it can spread those chains through a large room, and here it's been laying this trap for who knows how long. I should have known. He isn't going to let us leave." "I get the feeling that if any of us set foot in that water, we'd be dragged under in seconds," said Akira. "So what? It ain't even an inch deep." "Not all the time. It's like when he hunts shadows. He pulls them into the Dead Sea, and once he does, they don't come back." All of them shivered. The stranger and Iago looked on impassively. To quote Fear from Empathy, "We should be running!" Akira narrowed his eyes and brought down his mask. "Mona," he said, and they all took note of the code name. "How well can you handle on water? Will you hydroplane?" "I'm insulted. Who do you think I am? This car could do a hairpin turn in an oil slick." "Good. Are you confident in your driving, Queen?" "By all rights, this thing should handle like a shopping cart, but it corners just fine." "We're all set, Joker." "Noir, keep Melody at the ready. Those chains tore through my defenses like tissue paper, but your barriers are a lot more potent. Oracle, continue your analysis of the area. If we can't end this quickly, then we'll need to stay away from dead ends. The rest of you are on standby. And Crow." Akechi stiffened in the seat. Yes?" "Are you with us?" He turned and saw the assembled thieves, masks on, all of them with determination in their eyes. Then his jaw set, and he nodded, and when he turned back to face the stranger in that warped persona, his visor appeared to hold other reflections within. "Yes, I'm with you." Iago swung down his saber, pointing it at the van. The message was clear. Make your move, or I will. I would normally decide to immediately back out of this fight and get to the fucking station as fast as I can if I was in everyone's shoes, because it doesn't look like we can win the fight, but, well, what do you know, 9 against 1, so let's see how well we hold up. Akira took a deep breath. Queen. Makoto gripped the wheel. Floor it. The car shot forward in a screech of tires and ink-black spume, and around them all the city exploded in a shrieking, monstrous unlife as chains burst from every one of those gaping architectural orifices and set the structures writhing, as though they were corpses so infested with worms that the wriggle and hunger of those parasites had set them to walk again. Chains erupting in geysers from the blank asphalt, coiling serpentine, nodding cephalopodon, and as the car bore down on the haunting interloper, Iago's veil of chains shuddered and snatched up his master and held him close like a grotesque decoration, as the chains extended even further, ever further, and bore him skyward over the van, over the rooftops, so that they glanced at sickeningly yellow cravat high above and borne aloft in a gown of chains that then slivered away and carved through the nearby buildings like a hot knife through thin ice. And then there were only the phantom thieves speeding through the matted streets in a howling, sparking vortex of mottled metal, and Iago and the stranger buried dominion over them like some malevolent star. Wow, that was... It's not over yet, but that was quick how they just managed to drive under them. Holy fucking shit! Turn right! Queen, turn right here! Protect us, Milady! On second thought, maybe it's a good thing I didn't fight this on my own. How the hell are you still this calm, Joker? On second thought, maybe it's a good thing I didn't fight this on my own. Sorry. How the hell are you still this calm, Joker? Panicking does nothing. He's clearly pulled at all the stops. If we beat him here, we beat him for good. A knot of chains whipped out from the dark and cracked the van along its side. Haru jerked in her seat, mask burning, and the chain shuddered like a tuning fork, and then exploded in the sharps of shrapnel, undone by their own terrible force. But their fellows were countless, and growing all the while. Futaba's hands blurred across her console until they were rendered nearly invisible. We have obstructions straight ahead, 90 degrees, 40 degrees, right behind us as well. Joker, there's no way out. He's completely blocked us off. Without a word, Yusuke darted forward to the front seats. Ow! Fox, you stepped on... On stopped and stared as he slid open the skylight. Wait, what are you doing? Queen, please continue onward. I shall clear the way. Be careful, Fox. He emerged into air grown suffocating with water spray and the scrape and spark of metal, his foxtail billowing in the slipstream. Ahead of them was a swamp of chain links squirming like maggots on a carcass. Further tendrils shredded the city on their way to take the van. Yusuke braced himself, then stomped down hard enough on the van to make a dent in the metal and elicit a cry and a curse from Morgana. He stood limp as his mask burnt away. I am Vow. Goemon! A deaf white face floating over his shoulder, the suggestion of a pompadour and a swinging smoking pipe, and the metal around the van stilled and then was sliced apart with such force that even the water spiraled out around them. The van burst through the barrier, crushing the lifeless links under its wheels. Queen, continue straight on. Fox, I'm setting up a comms channel. Can you hear me? Loud and clear. Yusuke's voice emerged from above and through Futaba's console. I shall remain here. You all must... He was cut off as the van was struck from underneath and rocked dangerously off balance, the chains contriving to seize the entire car and pull them all down into the fathomless dark. Haru cried out as her latest barrier resisted the assault, but already she sounded short of breath, her brow dripping sweat. The Dead Sea blurred past them, Morgana's engine snarling over the death rattle of Iago's chains. Yusuke looked up and saw him keeping pace with the car, his statuesque pose almost a taunt. Iago changed tactics. The road ahead of them, already littered with rubble and the cognitive corpses of palaces gone, burst apart into chunks. The chains reached out and ripped it open further, leaving a deep trench into which more of that tainted water poured. Nowhere to turn, no time to hit the brakes. Makoto and Akechi both widened their eyes and leaned back in their seats, already preparing for the fall. "The road!" Ryuji shouted. "Joker, he just tore out the goddamn road!" "I'm on it," said Akira. "It's all you! Black Frost!" A bubble-headed phantom with a distended rictus grin and eyes like burning coals materialized over the pit, and with an impish cackle it raised its hand. The air seemed to coalesce, and the black space became black ice, gleaming like obsidian. And across this glassy plain, the car skidded but held steady, Morgana's supernaturally proficient tires finding their grip even here. When they emerged from the other side, the chains lashed down with an almost spiteful vigor, and missed by inches as the car swerved and continued on. More metal burst in cetacean waves from either side, breaching the soaked ground. But before they could reach the car, Yusuke cried Goemon's name again, and they fell apart in halves. "All right, Fox. That's our boy Yusuke for you. His stamina seems limitless," Yusuke said, and he too sounded out of breath. "We cannot weather this assault much longer." An looked at the window and saw Iago's hateful silhouette overhead. "We need to distract him somehow. Joker, should I toss a couple fireballs his way?" "We're going too fast, Panther," Morgana said. "You won't even come close." "To hell with this," Makoto growled. "Crow, can you drive?" Akechi jerked in his seat like he'd been daydreaming. His mouth opened and shut uselessly for a moment. "I've received my permit, but my opportunities to put it to use were few and far." "It's a yes or no question, Crow!" Yes, I can drive." "Then get ready to take the wheel." She took one hand off and held it out to Akira. "Joker, gun!" Akira handed over his pistol without a word, and Akechi scrambled to grab the wheel as Makoto kicked open the side door and braced herself and jumped. And before she hit the cracked and crazed asphalt, her whole body burned blue, as if she'd been swallowed by the tail of a comet. "Roar! Johanna!" "Oh, the Queen! All hail the Queen!" A new engine revved like 1,000 wasps, and Makoto burst out of that flame with her hand on Johanna's throttle, the Persona's serene face bearing witness to the decayed city as she sped forward and swerved through alleys and byways until she was parallel with the van, carving her own path, the licking fire around her motorcycle burning obstructions to ash as the chains diverted their course and attempted to capture them both. Akechi settled into the driver's seat and fought to keep the wheel steady, and above, Yusuke heard the air crack as Makoto angled the pistol up and fired in Iago's direction. He blurred and wavered away from the shots, the stranger still enchained to his body and hanging limp as a corpse. "Setting up comms," Futaba said. "Queen, do you read?" "I'm here," she shouted, fighting to be heard over Johanna's engine. "I'm fine, but we need to get out of the city. The buildings are giving them way too much cover." "Not likely, I'm afraid," Haru said weakly. "I don't think I can last before we can reach Tokyo's border." As if on cue, chains burst out from the right, and Akechi spun the wheel. But he wasn't as skillful as Makoto, and the van stalled for a heart-stopping moment before accelerating again. In that brief instant, another horde of chains cracked over the top of the van, dangerously close to Yusuke, and Haru cried out and slumped over, now fighting just to sit upright. Oh no! Haru, hold on! Morgana's voice came over the speakers. There has to be somewhere we can take cover. You two said it yourselves. This city's barely holding itself together. It is, but that doesn't mean we... Akechi stopped and leaned over the wheel. The rubble in the water had gone fish-white, oblong. More of those drowned and masked corpses in greater numbers than ever. His eye lit up. Oracle! Please, give me a topographical scan of the area. Is there anything unusual nearby? What do you mean by... Wait, you're right. There's a nearby space that's almost totally clear. Orientation is 70 degrees from current position. Thank you. Hold on, everyone. Queen, please follow me. I read you, Crow. As Akechi drove on, the city seemed to squat low among them. Tokyo's buildings becoming so decrepit that they went from 10 stories to 5 stories to torn single-story blocks that jutted from the water like rotted teeth. And in the distance, a jagged silhouette loomed from the water, a bit like a shark's mouth caught halfway to closing. An was the first to place it. Her jaw dropped. Wait, is that a ship? Is that Shido's ship? The broken and blasted remains of Masayoshi Shido's palace lay in a vast empty plain of water littered only with those cognitive corpses and a few scattered chunks of rubble, as though the sea through which it had once sailed had fallen down here with it and washed the entire district away. It had been ripped in half by the explosions in the engine room, and bow and stern jutted out diagonal from the waters like drowning fingers. As they approached that field, chains burst through the ground and wavered like seagrass. Iago towered behind them, clutching his master close, the both of them bending and twisting on that massive trunk of writhing metal. The rearview mirror reflected Akira's grin. Excellent find, Crow. Do we have a plan, Joker? Queen, come in, he said. We're going to land a decisive blow, but we need to get you a little bit airborne first. When the time is right, make your way to that ship and await further orders. Makoto shouted her assent. Fox, all of these chains are connected to Iago. They spread out like roots from a tree trunk. Would you be able to cut them all if we got within range? Without a doubt. They were very close to entering that emptied zone. Iago shot forward and Akechi swerved as a coruscating column of metal nearly blasted them off the road. The great stalk of chains stopped between the van and the ship, ready to seize them all. Noir, Akira continued, please give us one more shield. Panther, it's your time to shine. We need a smoke screen. There's not much to burn, Joker. No, but this whole place is soaking wet. Make this city boil. An blinked, then broke out in a wicked grin. She rolled down the window and stuck out her head, hair trailing in the slipstream like flame itself. Burn bright! Carmen! The carmine seductress materialized before the stranger and Iago, and stared up at them as if deeply unimpressed. She took a drag on her cigar, its end glowing like bloody red, and then flicked it into the water and stomped down hard. It erupted into a great sheet of flame and a hissing like a nest of vipers, and suddenly the world turned white and redolent with steam, clinging to the windshield like cotton. They heard the chains desperately smashing all the surrounding ground to cut off any escape, but the van maintained its course. Visibility is at 0, Joker, Akechi reported. Not to worry. He let his eyes focus. I can see it. The world fell away before him just as it had in the theater basement, and he saw it clearly. The thrashing chains that had borne Iago aloft. Up above, Yusuke had shut his eyes completely. He listened to the rattle and gnash around him, and waited for Akira's voice to echo in his head. Fox, we're coming up on the target. A chain whipped dangerously close to Yusuke's head, but he paid it no mind. We'll be in range in 5, 4, 3, 2, now! He flung his arms out. Goemon! A sleek scraping sound, a moment like an indrawn breath, and the steam burst apart as Goemon's latest mighty swing cleaved through the chains around them and the water below, and the central trunk joined to Iago. The twisted persona recoiled. The loose ends still joined to him, flailing like insect legs, but all the other chains at once fell lifeless and limp. Makoto revved Johanna and burned rubber past all of them as Iago pulled away, crippled but still airborne. Damn it! Ryuji said. Figures he can fly too. That's where you come in, Skull, said Akira. Hit him hard and get into the bow of Shido's ship. He grinned. Oh, hell yes. I know where you're going with this. Ryuji stuck his head out the opposite window and thrust his finger at Iago. Go kick his goddamn teeth in! Captain Kidd! The captain's ship burst forth with a great boom and streaked up to Iago in a haze of thunderstorm. Iago raised his saber in challenge and the two clashed, the air full of crackle and flash as Captain Kidd's storm clouds were rent by Iago's blade and his remaining and still growing chains. But Ryuji's persona was a bruiser even when weakened, and swifter than it looked. And even though Iago looked no worse for wear under Captain Kidd's assault, he was gradually forced back to the remnants of Shido's cruiser. The van cut through the water, keeping pace. Oh, this is good. This is so good.